Uncanceled Comedy Collective presents Top Censored News of the Week. It's time for Top Censored News of the Week. We are bringing you the stories the mainstream media just refuses to cover. If they do cover them, they always do it in a very dishonest or sloppy way, and it's always on purpose. All right. We're going to get into the top three stories right now. We're going to start with, let's see here, coming in at number 3, Epstein victim and Prince Andrew accuser was hit by a bus and given 4 days to live due to kidney failure. All right, let's check this out. Hotspot reported this a couple days ago, so I guess we're at the halfway point of the 4-day mark. Epstein victim and Prince Andrew accuser Virginia Guthrie was reportedly hit by a bus traveling at 115 kilometers an hour. Now that's about, I guess, just over 72 miles for those of you guys in the States, 72 miles an hour. She's been given 4 days to live due to kidney failure. And then she put this out on her social media. This year has been the worst year, start of the new year, but I won't bore anyone with the details. But I think it's important to note that when a school bus driver comes at you driving this fast, about 70 something miles an hour, as we were slowing for a turn, that no matter what your car is made of, it might as well be a tin can. I've gone into kidney renal failure. They've given me 4 days to live, transferring me to a specialist hospital in urology. I'm ready to go, just not until I see my babies one last time. But you know what they say about wishes? Shit in one hand and wish in the other, and I guarantee it's still going to be shit at the end of the day. Whew. Thank you for all being so wonderful people of the world and for being a great part of my life. God bless you all. Virginia. That's quite an insightful post there, coming from somebody who is in such a critical predicament. If you guys didn't hear about this accuser ever, it's the first time you're hearing about it, and you guys know there's a massive list of accusers, and we've been waiting for this list, apparently this client list, to come out. We haven't seen it. They keep stalling it. The Trump team keeps coming up with excuses about it. But if you're just seeing this particular victim, and we're just wanted to throw this out because these people are not safe right now. I mean, we're not saying with absolute certainty that this is related to that, but the point is, we got to keep an eye on these people because they're not getting the justice. It's not even close. We don't have any list coming out, and now you got these victims that are possibly being targeted. Let's hear her story. And by the way, I'm seeing pushback on her, like, from this since she got hit by the bus. People aren't saying she didn't get hit by the bus and she's not literally about to die. They're saying, oh, she made the whole thing up. By the way, you always get this with victims, but this is her trying to report this. Obviously, this is before the accident, but just so you guys get an idea of her account of what happened with Prince Andrew.
I was so young. Keelan woke me up in the morning and said, you're going to meet a prince today. I didn't know at that point that I was going to be trafficked to that prince. And then that night, Prince Andrew came to her house in London, and we went out to Club Tramp. Prince Andrew got me alcohol. It was in the VIP section. I'm pretty sure it was vodka. Prince Andrew was like, let's dance together. And I was like, okay. And we leave Club Tramp, and I hop in the car with Ghislaine and Jeffrey. And Ghislaine said he's coming back to the house. And I want you to do for him what you do for Epstein. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that even royalty were involved.
So this is just something we got to, I guess, accept. This is just what happens. And we know this. Anytime somebody gets targeted like this, again, these are just coincidences, right? We know what it's not. That's just where we're at. And we just have to accept it. But keep an eye on this stuff. The point is, we're not getting the list. It's not happening. So again, if you're a part of this and you're a victim out there, I mean, we feel like you need extra protection right now. This is a sad thing. It's a sad thing to see. So I haven't, we looked on Twitter this morning. I can't find any update on her. I guess we're kind of in the middle of this 4-day thing, but I mean, according to what the last we hear, she's not going to, probably not going to survive this. And that's a shame, accident or not. It's quite a tragedy. Okay. Coming in at number 2, Argentinian president has declassified documents confirming that Hitler survived World War II and escaped to Argentina. What? That's bizarre, because we were told he killed himself at the end of the war. That's strange. Why would that happen? Why would the president Javier Milei had declassified these documents. He says not only did he survive, he escapes to Argentina with the aid and assistance of the U.S. And it's we call them allies, right? Because we're the allies. And he apparently lives for another 20 years and possibly fathered 2 daughters. This is all stuff that we weren't, it's pretty wild. I want to let the folks at Redacted talk us through this one because they're pretty sharp when it comes to this type of unredacted information they'd like to report. Over at Redacted, check it out.
Story and who have studied the subject know that Adolf Hitler didn't kill himself in a bunker in Berlin as the Red Army closed in. I think that's, we all know that was a fabricated story, or if you watch the show, you probably understand that. Hitler actually fled Germany weeks before that using a group of underground tunnels that led to an airstrip. And that airstrip was flown. He was flown from Berlin out. It took submarines, and multiple submarines that were used, U-boats that were then sent to Argentina. In other words, Hitler lived for nearly 2 decades more in Argentina, along with vast numbers of the Third Reich. Well, now Argentinian President Javier Milei has just ordered the release of all remaining documents on all of those Nazis who fled Germany and moved to Argentina after World War II. Basically, it was almost like a second base of operations in Argentina. If you're not familiar with that, like basically the Third Reich operated out of Argentina and Germany. And many of them, including Adolf Hitler, lived in Argentina well after 1945. Most people know that Hitler lived out his days in Bariloche, Argentina, until he died there in the mid-1960s. Yes, you can read the CIA documents about this. The FBI documents also about sightings of Hitler in this area. They knew about it. Of course they knew about it. It was large.
So we saw some community notes come up on Redacted on Twitter. Of course, there's always community notes that come up with anything that challenges any narrative that we were taught just about World War II, anything that has to do with challenging Israel and the narrative that has come. That's basically our entire education system is kind of picky choosy, and we know that the winners of the wars will always be able to tell history the way they want to tell it. So our education system has been basically contaminated with one side of the story. So this is the type of thing, unfortunately, even though we know, Twitter is great for us to have, opportunities to research and have access to information. There's a lot of shadow banning that goes on. And then we have these community notes pop up. So I just wanted to give a little disclaimer on these guys' post on Twitter. It got on Redacted, and they're very sharp. These guys have been pretty on point throughout every time we have covered a story. They're doing the research, they're doing the investigation, and yet these community notes come up like, oh no, that hasn't checked out. This is just rumors. These are just rumors. We'll hear a little more of this.
Largely facilitated, I think it's safe to say, by the United States and its allies. Operation Paperclip, anybody? Quid pro quo?
Also, if you look into this, the skull that is held in Russia that was supposedly the remains of Adolf Hitler with a bullet wound in it is female.
Yeah.
So when you look for proof that Hitler did, in fact, kill himself in the bunker, you are going to find a lot of dead ends.
Yeah. And all you need to read, you can read a great book on this called The Gray Wolf. It's a great book. There's many books written about this now. But yeah, the skull, the fragments, they ran the DNA tests on it. And the Soviets allowed them to do this testing. And even Stalin openly talked about that Hitler lived. He was not there. So Stalin even knew about it. It's widely known in Argentina, by the way. Well known that Hitler sired 2 children while he lived in Argentina.
So why does this matter? Why is this important? Because it's another example, again, of a picky, choosy historical context that deliberately gets left out. If this is something that they can defend and excuse, then we should have heard about this in our education. We should have heard about a counter story. We should have heard about well, what about those bones that were buried? What about these sightings in Argentina? What about all these things? No, we won't ever hear about it. Just like we'll never hear, and you'll never hear in school. And if you guys think back, isn't it strange we never actually heard an interpretation of Hitler's speeches? Wouldn't you want to hear those speeches? Wouldn't you want to hear what the most evil person that's ever existed in the history of ever, what he was actually saying? Or do you want to just hear the German tone and that harsh tone? Do you just want to hear that all the time? Or do you want to actually hear what he's saying? We should hear what he's saying, because the point is we should know what evil looks like. But they just tell us, no, take our word for it. It's pretty bad. And we see this tactic used over and over. It's used right now in people that are alive right now. They do it with RFK Jr. on the wrong stuff, by the way. We know the stuff we should be critical on him, but anything about Big Pharma, we say, oh, he's crazy. He's crazy. Well, what did he say? Oh, trust me, he's crazy. That's how the news is. They say we can't play it. It's so dangerous. It's so damning. We'll take our word for it. We looked at it and we're going to tell you it's freaking crazy. Trust us. So this is just another example of why we should be a little more curious, and we should be doing our own research, and we should be asking our own questions. So shout out to Redacted for getting that story going and up and out there, because we need to know this stuff. Okay, let's see here. Coming in at, I got to change the screen here. Okay, here we go. Coming in at number 1. IDF executes 15 medics and aid workers, buries them in a mass grave, and the U.S. State Department blames Hamas. Oh, man. This is tragic, guys. We found out about this one. Here we go. This is from AP. The Israeli troops killed 15 Palestinian medics, buried them in a mass grave. The UN says this is awful. So we're looking at the details of this, and this was they tried to hide. They tried to hide the evidence. That's why the mass graves aren't because of laziness or whatever. It's a tactic, and we saw this at the hospitals that they bombed and murdered people. They went in there and killed everybody, all of the babies in incubators, all the stuff they accused Hamas of doing in Israel. They were doing it in Palestine. And every time you get a mass grave situation, it's just like we learned in World War II Nazi. This is the behavior. It's bury the evidence, which they tried to do here. But the truth came out, and now the reports saying we know that these 15 medics were executed. They were executed and thrown in a grave. So let's hear that. This there is a TikTok guy named Lewis Aaron. I liked his breakdown. Let's hear what he has to say. This is from Lewis Aaron on TikTok.
Humanitarian workers have just been found in a mass grave with at least one person with their hands tied behind their back. I know this is depressing, but please stop scrolling away, because you can actually help fight this. These were Palestinian paramedics and rescue workers. They were buried in their uniforms with their vehicles in the mass burial, including ambulances, which were clearly marked as ambulances, along with a UN vehicle, which was marked as a UN vehicle. The evidence shows that these people had their lives taken from them one by one, and when they came under attack by the Israeli Defense Forces, you can hear on a phone call the Israeli soldiers approaching the vehicles and somebody saying, grab something to tie their hands up with. A quote from the phone call where you can hear the Israeli soldiers, they say, gather them at the wall and bring some restraints to tie them. They also have evidence that one of the people had been detained and then had their life taken from them and then put in the mass grave. This actually happened last week, but we only just found out now, because when this happened, the IDF forces did not let the other rescue workers get to them because they were in a mass grave and they were obviously trying to hide it. This was the deadliest attack on Red Cross and Red Crescent workers anywhere in the world since 2017, and so far in the last 18 months of the war, Israel has killed over 1,000 healthcare workers in Gaza. Along with that, we have over 50,000 people confirmed to have lost their lives in Gaza, with thousands still buried under the rubble. If you've made it to this point in the video, I want you to share this article with everyone that you know, and please send it to every single elected representative where you are, whether that's local, regional, national. Flood their inboxes and ask them why they're still supporting this.
Yeah, shout out to Lewis Aaron, and he's urging people to say something about this and flood the phones, which is not a bad idea when it's something as critical as this. So yeah, good work on that, Louis Aaron. And the the fact is that you have we can do what we can by as far as flooding the phones, but what about reporters who get into the State Department to confront this directly with the intelligence service that puts the people out to deflect? But you have this kind of this little tiny window to ask a question about this. Let's see what happens when a reporter asks the rep at the U.S. State Department, "What is going on here when these medics are killed one by one? The bodies were dug up after the IDF tried to hide them and bury them. It's a use of our taxpayer money, the U.S. weapons that we're supplying. Is there any what do you say back to that? What possibly can you do to how can you make that the fault of Hamas? Well, of course, they know how to do this. So let's hear the BS response of why what the IDF did is actually Hamas's fault.
All right. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
On Gaza, the UN's Humanitarian Affairs Office has said that 15 paramedics, civil defense, and a UN worker were killed, in their words, one by one by the IDF. They have dug bodies up, they said, in the shallow grave that have been gathered up, and also vehicles in the sand. Have you got any assessment of what might have happened, and given the potential use of American weapons, is there any assessment of whether or not this complied with international law?
Well, I can tell you that for too long, Hamas has abused civilian infrastructure, cynically using it to shield themselves. Hamas's actions have caused humanitarians to be caught in the crossfire. The use of civilians or civilian objects to shield or impede military operations is itself a violation of international humanitarian law. And of course, we expect all parties on the ground to comply with international humanitarian law.
Okay.
Specifically a question on it's a question about accounting and accountability, given that it may have been the use of US weapons. So it's a question about the State Department rather than Hamas. Is there any action to assess?
Every single thing that is happening in Gaza is happening because of Hamas.
Okay. What? Wait, what? Every single thing that is happening in Gaza is because of Hamas. So this, why doesn't this line of logic work here? Like if you're up for, if you're on trial for assaulting someone or domestic battery, or if hey, you killed your wife. Well, if you went up to the judge and said, well, everything that happened in the house is due to the fact that she wanted to kill me, and so she was terrorizing me, and because of that, I can do anything I want because it's all a result of the initial threat. What kind of BS logic is this about excusing any bit of responsibility for anything? And it's not even like a window of responsibility. It's forever and ever. It's just the way RFK Jr. told us on October 8th. He told us the day after, immediately tweets out, no red line for Netanyahu, blank check. And that's been the policy ever since. And I don't care if it's Biden or Trump, it's our policy. It's always been blank check, no red line. Blank check, no red line. It's always been our policy for Israel. It's just we're just able to be louder about it now. And even more so since Trump got in. So it's just the volume being turned up. So any of you guys think that Harris and Biden, whoever Harris and whoever the hell she would be, her handlers would have been if she won, you think this would not be happening? Of course it'd be happening. The only difference is the volume has been turned up. That's it. The same action, the same excuses, the same. They're just as proud about it. But now you can tweet this out, and 18 months later, you can still use this as a defense when a direct question was asked about responsibility for these slaughtering of medics, and the burying of these medics is apparently Hamas's fault.
Every single dynamic. I'll say again, I've said it, I think, in every briefing. All of this could stop in a moment if Hamas returned all the hostages and the hostage bodies they are still holding and put down its weapons, there is one entity that could stop it for everyone in a moment, and that is Hamas. All loss of life is regrettable. It's key, obviously. Whoever it is, wherever they live, and this has been the nature of what fuels Secretary Rubio and President Trump in their willingness to expend this kind of capital early on in this term to make a difference and to change the situation. So
you're not changing the situation. You're expanding the whole plan. Netanyahu says it out loud. It's the greater Israel project. It has nothing to do with the hostages. You got to stop this line of BS. How can you explain Yemen? How can you explain Lebanon? How can you explain Syria? Where are the hostages? Where are the hostages? There are no hostages. And every time Hamas tries to say, let's end this permanent ceasefire, let's do this, Israel says, hell no. Hell no, we don't want the hostages. We like using that. It's an excuse. So quit it with this bullshit. But we do like that the reporter did push back and followed up with the question, and that was good. But still, this is the line of these are the bullet points that are pre-rehearsed, predetermined, and that's what you're going to get, unfortunately. Now, look, what can we do about all this? We can't do much because we have to give a shout out to all the students protesting all over the nation. They've been doing this at all the college campuses since the beginning. And they've been championing. They've been champions. They've been courageous. And with all this, again, it's not Trump doing anything differently. It's just like he's louder about it, louder about the targeting and the blackballing of students, taking away. I mean, don't forget, guys, Biden was doing the same thing. Biden's handlers were doing the same thing, punishing these students, saying you are not going to get a job after you graduate. Now there's more of the deportations happening. And now we have actual citizens, U.S. citizens on campus, U.S. citizens being arrested. This is happening. We'll get into some of that more later in the show, but I want you guys to know this doesn't stop at a certain point. Just because, we got the green card holders, they don't really get the rights that we get. No, you guys, they keep pushing it and pushing it. And now we got this new tech in place that's going to keep track of everybody and what they put out there. And it is very clear that the students are the most susceptible to this because they're in arenas, they're in the environments that we know. You think Trump's team is stupid? You think that they're stupid about certain things. But in this case, they know what happens when college campuses push and fight and call out not just the genocide. We did this in South Africa a few decades back. We did this for years. The college campuses won the fight in South Africa because it was about putting enough pressure where they had to divest. It's about divesting. And if they can make that happen enough and tip it, the U.S. eventually they have to tip. No, they don't do anything out of being nice or everything's about the bottom line. And as long as there's money to be made, in weapons contracts and all of the the upward transfer of wealth into the warmongers' pockets, as long as that's there, they're going to keep doing it. So we got to put the resistance in. That's why the students right now are the most susceptible to this type of free speech crackdown. We'll get into more of that later in the show. But for now, that is top censored news of the week.